Yeah, it doesn't mean that the curves of the spine change. Spiner's wave means when you roll your pelvis, you let the whole spine just change its curvature. Spiner's stick means, this is what we were indicating the other day, you know, when you did all those big lessons with bringing the feet forward, that you create a degree of tensioning in the external cylinder of your trunk, that when that push happens, yes, there's a little bit of deformation, but it's not big. Yeah, it's not like you have to keep my spine as a stick. No, it's just, you know, it passes through, the waves go through, but they don't displace too much. So a lot of the force then goes straight through, rather than, if this is the pelvis rolls and then that gets displaced and then that gets displaced, and you see that's already like a wave. That's too much displacement. A lot of the force gets dissipated, gone, used up. But they're very useful parts of that. They're very useful when you're doing pelvic clocks, you know, 12 to 6, this relationship, really useful. But for force transmission, it's not what you're after. You're after to contain the force so that you can direct it to where you want it to go. Yeah. So I'm setting this up for tomorrow. I'll represent it again tomorrow, but so you can see it now. Because I think I was typing in your burning questions last night into the computer, and I saw there was a question about heads and lifting of heads and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So you know the major difference between your head on the ground and your head already lifted? You're not encountering the friction of the ground anymore. Because of this 5 kilograms, if you, which would you prefer, legs long or legs straight?
Trick question.
Yeah. With his legs long like this, I just thought maybe you have a preference. Long and straight. Go for long? Good choice. So if Lockie uses his heels, yeah, you know, there's only going to be how much displacement? Maybe that much. When you think of how much the heel rolls through space, there's only going to be that much displacement. That's it. But that is enough through his skeleton to get all the way to his head. Why? Because the joint spaces are really small. Yeah, not like those big spaces that you had between the, you know, clunk, clunk, clunk. You'd have to have T-Rex heels. Yeah, yeah. I watched that movie last night, Jurassic Park 2. Ooh. So, if I put my hand, one of my hands, right at that place where his neck emerges out of his thorax, you can call it T1, you can call it C7, whatever you like, but it's that place where I have a sense of his neck emerging out of his thorax, right? And then Lockie provides me with a push. I'm feeling for when that push arrives at that place. There it is. There it is. There it is. Yep, it's already there. See how quick? Boom. But does he feel it? I don't know. Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Yeah. So at that moment, when the spine is already traveling up here, if I take away the friction of the ground, then his head doesn't do all of this business because it's free in space. I'm carrying it. Go ahead. So that's the up component. Yeah. That's the up component. The head is now being carried. There is no more friction of the ground. I'm sensitive enough to feel some of the time. I was pretty off on some of the other times when that's happening. But there's also something else that's happening. Remember, it's not a completely rigidified, stiffened spine. the lumbar spine is still doing what? Going towards the floor. And as the lumbar spine goes towards the floor, the thoracic spine rocks and it brings this part forwards. Does it do that with everybody? No. Because people, just like you did, have particular ideas about how things should happen, or they have habits. Like you have habits of drawing your A's and your W's and whatever, and they bring those damn things to the table and I have to get rid of them. Yeah, you got to get rid of them because they just keep doing them. We do that which we know. That's why it's not so easy to forge your signature, because there's some aspect of your signature that will stay the same. And in a good handwriting analysis, someone will pick it. But an expert can, right? So you're all practicing to be an expert how to do the Harry Houdini trick of getting out of your habits. It's a trick. Yeah. So I know his spine is curving. So sorry about this, Lockie. Yeah. So there will be a moment that this part of his back will do that. It'll go forward. That's the forward compartment. Forward and up. Up and forward. So I wait for the force to arrive. Yo. And for Lockie, this is a really shallow curve. We established that, right? I'll listen to you now. Okay. Now, is that the only position that you worked with? No. Would you like to continue having your legs long, or would you like to bend them? I made a mistake before, but I covered up. So what would happen now that Lockie has more power, right? Go ahead. There it is. Look at that. Yeah? When you, whoa. I'm adding a bit of traction, aren't I, Lockie? Sorry. I'll just go with you. There it is. There it is. There it is. So all I have to do is carry and sense. Carry and sense. Maybe a little bit more forward. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah. What about to the other side? Yeah. Ooh, that's nice. Now, actually, right now, I'm in his way because that right leg is right in his way. So I need to change. Yeah. So this is what you'll pair up and do tomorrow. Sensing in your hands the arrival of the force, not being in the way like I was, and letting you yourself be moved and feeling the direction of it. Because that's kind of what you have already been practicing with the pulling of the arm. When you feel that force, when you supply the force and everything goes with it, it feels like it's going to go on forever. Yeah. Do that again. Oh, yeah. Are you soft in the middle? Are you? Yeah. So that's it. So that's what I'll, as I said, I'll represent. Thank you, Lockie. I'll represent this to you tomorrow, and you'll get to practice. You might practice tonight. I don't know. Yeah. It is about becoming sensitive to that. And then once you feel it and you get a sense of the timing for that person, well, why couldn't you just do it for them? Because then you have the trajectory and you know how much and you know the feel, and then you do it. No, you just do it. You pull. The scary thing, you're like, off with his head. Yeah, but you see, if you have invested time and felt your way and felt the trajectory, head forward, head turned, on front, head forward, head turned, and you're just simply, you found a convenient way of carrying their head, then you can have a confidence that if you follow that trajectory, something will come, because that's the trajectory that they were moving in the first place. So that's the faith that you need to have in your sensitivity with the person, and the person being able to sense, oh yeah, that's exactly what I do. And there you go. Yeah. And when you feel that, that gets rid of, for a moment in time, when you feel it, it gets rid of that sense of pulling. Because if you just do a little bit here, a little bit there, after a while, you can find the direction, just like you found the direction of the arm, you can find a direction to pull through their spine, and they come. Yep. Now, one more comment and then we'll split off. You know when you have your hands behind here like this, and I was asking you to feel for that moment of when to use the power of the arms. Well, very often the power of the arms is tied to the musculature of the trunk, right? It's like that. Yeah, that. So when you practice this lesson again, look for greater differentiation. A different way of lifting the head, that it doesn't have to be the trunk. It can be just, those of you who watched my FI, it can be in the wrists and just up here in this whole shoulder girdle pectoral area. It can be just that. That's enough. Because if you do that, then all that stuff, remember I said about carrying over things in the lesson? Remember something about viscera and that fluidity of the viscera? Yeah? If you do that, you now have stopped the fluidity of the viscera. Yeah? So then you go looking for a way of the head where the push, well, I can do that really well now. Yeah? There was a time in my life that would never happen. Yeah? Then everything is free here. You're not using an abdominal, an abdominal corset strategy to lift your head anymore. And that is a totally different experience. It means the spine will deform, not because these muscles are doing it. It'll deform just enough to fit the push of the leg. That's a very different deformation of the spine. It's the kind of deformation that happens when you're standing well. And we do have spinal curves for a reason. And I can't remember the details, but I'll look it up and I'll post it on the web for you. 3 curves is the optimum for engineering for a resilient spine. 2 curves isn't enough. 1 curve is like this dude, right? Can I have? Yeah. Like, yeah, good luck. Concussion on every step. Yeah. Yeah. But 3 curves, that's got buoyancy in it. It's a great shock absorber, and it's. How many of you know Kapanji's book, Physiology of the Joints? Yeah. That's okay. I'll scan that and put it up on the knowledge base. And it's a really interesting idea from an engineering perspective, why the 3 curves are important. But then if they're over-curved, they lose their resiliency. If they're under-curved, once again, no good. So that there's a certain curve in the spine that gives you that, so that when you push, you get the push, but there's no brittleness to it. There's a kind of a little bit of pliancy, but not too much. And especially if you don't contract all these guys, then you can actually feel, what did I say? Skeleton is deaf. You can feel the connective tissue around the skeleton changing. It gives you a sense, oh, there's my core. There really is my core. And Philippa jumps when she feels her core. You just jumped before, yeah? You just boing, 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 oh, yeah. Are you a spring chicken? Are you a Steggles? No. Not a Steggles. Okay. So now we're going to do the class FIs, and the three of us will be doing it. If you could split up into 3 equal groups. And I have no idea who I'm seeing, but whoever shows up, bring it on. Who's with me? Okay, thank you. Angela. Okay. Yeah.